This segment is about vehicle anatomy. It's important that we have a basic foundation about vehicle design, construction, as well as hazard features. So we're going to take a little time utilizing a minivan to talk about some basic design features, terminology for common components, as well as identification of potential hazards within those components, where the reinforced zones or strength areas are, where we might potentially make cuts, and try and develop a basic understanding of how to utilize the vehicle's natural design features to help facilitate how we attack it and how we tear it apart in an extrication application. So with the minivan specifically, the basic terminology and structure is similar to all other level 1 passenger vehicles. This front body panel is a fender. We have an outer body panel that is thin gauge sheet metal, sometimes plastic or fiberglass in certain types of vehicle designs. Underneath this cosmetic panel, we have a structural element to that fender. Behind that, we have what's called the A-pillar or the A-post. This segment is a highly structural component, provides a lot of strength and rigidity to the vehicle, as well as oftentimes has some reinforcing elements, as well as some hidden hazards. If we have side curtain airbags present, there's a good possibility or likelihood that we have a compressed gas cylinder, typically one of the argon cylinders, somewhere within this A-pillar or A-post system. The piping out of that cylinder will provide compressed gas to that side curtain airbag and cause it to deploy through the roof line. Moving back further, we have the B-pillar or B-post. Same potential hazard exists in this post and in this area of the roof line. So we may have a compressed gas cylinder in this area as well as anywhere within this B-post. This lower structural element is called the rocker. The rocker typically has a frame rail in close proximity to it on the undercarriage of the vehicle, which we'll hit later when we talk about undercarriages. Moving back further, on a minivan specifically, we have this cargo door area. These large sliding doors may be on both sides of the vehicle, or they may be on one side of the vehicle. One of the extrication techniques that's common and referred to is a 4-door operation or a 4th door operation. When you hear that term utilized, it's referencing creating a side opening on the opposing side of the sliding door. So in a 3-door application, driver's door, passenger door, and passenger side sliding door, if we create an opening on the closed side of the vehicle, that would be a 4th door technique. These sliding doors have a couple of different operating mechanisms. Some of them simply work on a slide with a bearing wheel. Others work on a chain assembly. Either way, you're typically going to have a capturing element at the top with a midpoint at the rear of the door that is a keeper. It travels in a slide track on the side body panel of the vehicle, as well as your primary gliding mechanism down at the base of the door. These doors are typically very easy to remove once you get them popped open. You have your typical nadir pin assembly at the front, but once that door is open, we can simply clip those 2 locations on the front of the door, or cut them, I should say, and then we can also cut or spread that one at the rear of the door. This next vertical post or pillar back here would be the C-post or C-pillar. This typically will carry structural integrity all the way down to the front side of the rear axle wheel well, whether it's on a passenger vehicle or on a minivan. Same applications apply to this pillar or post as do with the B-post. Moving back further, we're going to have the D, or sometimes, depending on the formation of this, if it's angled like a shark fin, it may often be referred to as a sail panel. This area may have some additional hazards, or at least obstacles that are difficult to accommodate when extricating. Number one, it's typically a much larger segment of material, just on the exterior viewing it. On the interior, we get into a lot more cosmetic components. So we've got that fiberboard with the upholstery lining, as well as potential plastic cowlings. We may also have located in this portion a compressed gas cylinder, not an argon related cylinder that's designed to deploy side curtain airbags, but the one that will allow this deck lid or this tailgate assembly to project out when we release the latching mechanism. Those components have an interior piston within the compressed gas cylinder. It's important that we understand that if we cut those when they are compressed, that they can fire out that cut segment of piston, like a ballistic missile or a ballistic piece of shrapnel. Once they're completely deployed out, then the hazard is somewhat inert. But it's important to identify those, both the stop points on them as well as their location point. It's also important to remove all the interior components prior to cutting this to identify whether there is a compressed argon cylinder in here designed to deploy side curtain airbag systems. So, as a mandatory rule of thumb, anytime you're cutting vertical components or roofline components or rocker components on a vehicle, it's imperative that you remove the interior plastic shrouds so that you can evaluate for the presence of hazards in any of those areas.